Joseph Campbell. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasures you seek. Joseph Campbell.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Next Level
Good vibes only.
with Darren and Jessica Salquist. And we have a special guest with us today.
Who's in the house?
Well, it's Lori Mage, but I got a whole intro that I'd like to share first about Lori. You ready, Lori?
Ready as all ever be. Let's go.
All right. So today we are honored to welcome someone who is more than just a guest. She's like family to us. Lori spent the last 25 years building a life of leadership, service, and working on herself. She is a certified coach, performance coach, leadership development expert, workshop facilitator, mentor, and lifelong learner. Her mission is simple and powerful: to empower people by building a happier, healthier, more loving world. But what makes Lori extraordinary is not just her professional path, it's her human journey, her heroic journey. From challenges to triumphs, from success to loss, through medical struggles, acceptance, resilience, intense seasons of emotion, and deep personal transformation, she's never stopped learning, growing, or showing up with her heart. There's so many things that we could share of our experience with Lori. I think our very first obstacle race course over down in Oregon. We did that together.
Yeah. What was that? Was it
Tough Mudder? Or
Warrior Dash?
It was Warrior Dash.
Warrior
yeah.
Dash. Yeah.
Yeah, we got those really cool hats.
Yes.
Fred
Yes.
Flintstone stuff.
Yes. Always kind of campaigning for things bigger than ourselves, learning together. We were both, all three of us, part of Heroic Class 1, which you
Hoorah.
pretty much introduced Brian Johnson to us.
Planted the seed.
We continue that journey together, facilitating together. I mean, Lori and I were roommates back in the day. We've got a lot of history from high school. And now Darren and Lori work pretty close together, mentoring and coaching each other in so many different ways and valuing the relationship they've built. We've been up, we've been down, we've made up, we've cried, we've grown together, and we've laughed. A lot of amazing experiences together. So,
Just like family.
yep, exactly. Yeah. So Lori is a living example of courage in motion, and we want to welcome Lori Mage to Next Level. Good vibes only.
What's up, Lori?
Thank
Yay.
you. I'm looking around thinking, where is the tissue? Because I don't know if the three of us can have a conversation without crying. We'll see how we do today.
It's possible. Yeah, I'm good. I got a sleeve. So as long as
Perfect.
we all got a sleeve, I think we're good.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing something a little bit new on Next Level here, Good Vibes Only. We're
Yeah.
going to be bringing some special guests in now and then. We're going to be talking about their heroic journey and going over these 8 key concepts that we're going to be talking about, that they get to share their journey. So I'm kind of excited for this new adventure that we're going to be going on. It's not going to be, we'll still have some of the components that we have done in the past, but every now and then we'll bring in a special guest and let you guys hear the journey that every individual that we all go through, that we all get to go on. And so Jessica's going to go through those 8 key components.
Yeah. So the beautiful thing is that we hope that you find a connection in every story that we share. We do have the components, the steps of the heroic journey, and we're just going to authentically and organically go through those with Lori. And those areas are the call to adventure. We're going to explain that a little bit. Go see Joseph Campbell's heroic journey if you want to connect a little more. It's pretty fun and entertaining. Finding Joe, thank you. The resistance and refusal of the call, meeting mentors and allies, crossing the threshold, trials, tests, and initiation, the abyss, which is fun, revelation and transformation, and then integration. So if you think of a big old circle and we start the journey and we come back to ourselves, and that's something that we connect with through many movies like Superman or all the hero type movies where they start, they go out into the world, they find themselves, they find the people to help them be courageous and grow, and they come back to themselves in the end.
The Matrix,
Yeah.
Indiana Jones,
Yeah.
Wizard of Oz is a really good one.
Good one. Yeah. I like that one. Yeah.
Star Wars, right? A lot of different movies out there that follow the philosophy of Joseph Campbell.
Yeah.
And so what this is all going to be about is that heroic journey is the modern practical adaptation of Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. And it describes the universal path that human beings take when they choose to move from the ordinary version of themselves to the most express, courageous, and virtuous version of themselves. It's not about being perfect. It's about practice. And it's about stepping into the arena of your life again and again. And so we're going to go through these 8 components. And the first component that we're going to be stepping into is the call to adventure. And this is the moment when you feel something inside of you whisper or shout that there's more for you. For some people, it's sparked by a crisis. For others, there's a longing. Sometimes it's subtle, and sometimes it's a breakdown that becomes a breakthrough. It's a recognition that your current life is too small for the person you are becoming. So, Lori, where is that call to adventure? When did that start for you?
Which one?
Yeah, exactly. Which one would you like to start with? And was it a whisper or a shout?
Let's talk about your growth. What led you into this being this coach that you are, this dynamic coach of what you're going through, and then finding individuals that help lead your path, and then also going through school and going through that same process.
I don't think I knew I was on the hero's journey. I just was kind of like listening to like what I might want to do when I grow up. But I always had a deep curiosity around the human spirit and just wanting to live a great life. And that's where the genuine curiosity led me to college and supporting people through counseling, personal development. My undergrad's in psychology. My master's is in organizational leadership. And in 2007, that was probably one of the big heroic journeys I went on. And I feel like I'm still on it today, but I'm integrating more and more. And Jessica was around for that early part as well. But I really wanted to be a life coach. And at the time, nobody knew what a life coach was. It was 2007. And so I went out and got this little certification. It was like a 6-month journey and did some practice coaching and things like that. And I saved up money that I thought would help me get to the part where I had paying clients. And I thought, I'm going to go from 0 to 6 figures in like 6 months. And so I quit my comfy county job to go do this thing as a life coach and fell completely on my face. I think we're already jumping into other aspects of it,
okay.
But I resisted the call over and over and over again. Who am I? Like, nobody knew what it was. I didn't know how to sell it. I didn't even know what I was offering through coaching. And, working at the job I could have had a nice career. I could have had a nice retirement. All of those things were lined up. I was excelling and doing well. And yet I couldn't stop thinking about being a life coach.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you started off with, because when I was thinking about the answers of this for myself, it was the same thing. I was like, I didn't even know I was on this hero's journey at this point. It's the hindsight, right? When we're like, oh my gosh, I was on a heroic journey here. And so you're in the midst of it, right? And so you're going through all the emotions of it. I love the fact that you had the courage to be like, I'm going for it. Like, we didn't know any better, right? Like, I mean, that's part of it. And it's so, but at the same time, sometimes we just need that. We need that. And throughout life, when we go on our other journeys, there's times where we are really comfortable and we do have, stability, and it is scary to do that. So I think part of it is like, good for you for doing that. But you kind of mentioned, you kind of went right into like, maybe that resistance or refusal, because you said, who am I? Like, who am I to do this? What am I thinking at that point in time? And I don't know if you thought about it, but did it set in like, what if I fail? What if I can't do this? And what did that look like?
Oh man. I thought I had the failure like protected, I think. I think I was so naive that it was just going to work.
Yeah.
You know? Like you said, I think that's so well put. Like, you just don't know what you don't know. And I was young enough and dumb enough and like positive enough to just go for it.
Yeah.
And I thought that coach program I went through was like, that's enough. Like, I've got this little stamp of approval.
Yeah.
I know how to coach people and I'm just going to do it. So I think I was just naive enough. Now, fear's gotten in the way more recently.
Yeah.
I think that's the challenge, I think, as we get older, is that the resistance becomes greater because we have bigger responsibilities. I mean, when I took that leap, I didn't have a house payment. I didn't have a family. I didn't have those types of things that I think as I got older, some of the other heroes' journeys I've been on, that resistance has been bigger and deeper, and the self-consciousness that comes up that I didn't have then.
That word responsibility
Yeah.
was starting to fall in.
It's different when you got bills.
Yeah.
You got bills to pay. Yeah, definitely. So,
But that's sometimes I would say, again, where you're at in that resistance, that refusal, right? That who am I to do this? What if I fail? This is too much. And also, I would say kind of in the aspects, depending on where you want to go with the position that you were at prior and doing that for a little while. And then having an opportunity where, again, is life happening to you or is life happening for you to where you're at now, right? And there was a lot of fear and a little bit of resistance to that in that moment. There was at times I would think, who am I to do this? And that questioning yourself. And even though you've done all these things, and I guess that's one thing that I would say is when you were on your journey and when we can talk about it, when you're at STCU and leading there, right? And then you're making this change. It's like, why does she want to make this change? Like, man, she's already doing it. She's making good money there, and she wants to go do her own thing. Like, is that, wow, I don't understand it, Like, she's making good money there. But then you had this dream, you had this calling, you had this passion, right? And that's the thing I think all of us sometimes that we not let other people stop us from our dream. And so what do you think that kind of landed for you when life kind of happened for you instead of to you?
Well, when you're in it, it doesn't feel like it's happening for you.
Right. It takes a moment, right?
That's for sure. It definitely doesn't feel like it's happening for you. In that specific one in 2007, what was fascinating about it is that I quit my job, and within, right when my insurance ran out, I basically broke my back. I had 2 ruptured discs in my lower back. I had no insurance, and I was crippled essentially for like 18 months. And that thing, when you're in it and you're crippled like that, and at the time I had this identity of an athlete, and that just was gone. I had like this identity crisis of who am I anymore when I can't even stand up straight without buckling at the knees. And that, in hindsight, though, is what then led me, that failure, that false start with my coaching program, led me to go to Gonzaga to get my master's in organizational leadership, because I thought, what's the next clear path to helping people be and become their best self? And it was leadership. I had read a book on leadership, and they said the best kept secret of leadership was personal development. And love is the best kept secret of leadership. But they said leadership development is personal development. And that was the world I was in, was personal development. And so I thought, okay, at least I can go get a job in corporate if I go through this leadership path. And so I ended up getting an undergrad, I got a graduate program assistant program that I was working with a professor there, Dr. Adrian Popa. And so I had some money coming in, but not a lot. And so I fit into this gap where I was uninsured. I wasn't making enough money to have my own kind of health care, and yet I made too much to fall into the bucket in Washington State and federal to get assistance. And so I was literally crippled as a grad student. And because of that, then that led me to doing the Project Access program with you guys, which was the nonprofit and everything else. And that ended up being my project for my graduate degree at Gonzaga was that. So when you're in it, though, it doesn't feel like it's happening for you. But when you look back, that's the idea of like Steve Jobs when he says, it's looking back that you can connect the dots. Like follow your heart. And when you look back, the dots will all line up. And you can't figure out your way without taking that step, right? And so each step felt like a failure. It felt like an identity crisis. It felt like a ego death at times, many, many, many times. But they all happened for me, and they led me to the next step, and then the next step, and then the next step.
And when I got to witness a little bit is, again, your growth and your resilience at that time, even though you might have been feeling different at different times, but with what you guys did with the project, what was it called? Was it
Project Access?
Project Access, right?
We were
And
the
you guys-
pact.
We were the
Yeah,
PAC
the
team.
pack, right?
Project Access cycling team.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
hello, one-time wonder.
Yeah.
One-hit wonder.
And you guys did the STP,
Yeah,
right?
Seattle to Portland.
I got to
Yeah.
be a crew member.
Yeah.
I did have the FOMO then when you guys
You did.
left.
Yeah.
I was like, why am I not doing this?
Yeah.
But,
It was good.
You had the call to the adventure in you. Darren. You're like, I want to do this next year.
Yeah.
Even that alone was
Yeah.
Another hero's journey,
Oh,
right?
huge.
For all of us.
Huge.
Like
Yeah.
Jessica
Huge.
was a huge help in making that happen. We ended up raising like $15,000 or $16,000 for this organization that no one had heard of, and
Yeah.
it saved my life. And
Yeah.
Jessica was a huge part of that.
Yeah, and that's the big part. We're talking about the hero's journey happens again and again and
Yeah.
again, right?
Yeah. I mean, we could probably talk about, just like we need a whiteboard with lots of circles on it and then start creating it. But you mentioned personal development as you were learning about like what a coach does. I mean, I love the fact that you said, and I read a leadership book. Like you were like, and I read this book and this book took me over here. And it's like, you created the action. You didn't just sit there and go, oh, man, this sucks. I mean, I just failed and I'm just going to sit here. Yeah, the fear comes in. Yeah, we doubt. We might feel like an imposter, but you kept taking the action and the step. And when you talk about that personal development, like part of the hero's journey is that without going through that experience, you may not be the coach that you are today and that you will be later. Like it'll keep happening, right? We get to keep processing these wonderful, beautiful journeys that we get to, experience. And part of it is, through that experience, like who showed up in your life? Who were those people, those books, those mentors, the Loris that showed up in your life through that journey or journeys as you were experiencing the rotation of the hero's journey over and over again?
Who showed up?
Who showed up?
There was a moment I was crippled up, laying on the couch. I was in this group. At the time, we didn't do Zoom, right? It was just phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
And this was this group of other coaches trying to be coaches. Mm-hmm. And we were reading a book called The Diamond Cutter.
Mm-hmm.
And I was not keeping up with my homework. And I'm about ready to go on this call with this group of people who are coaches. And I started looking on YouTube for a book summary of The Diamond Cutter.
Oh my gosh.
Guess where it led?
Yeah.
Brian
Johnson.
That's
You
awesome.
got it.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I watched that
don't know
video
if I
and then
knew
the
that.
next video and then the next video and the next video. And I was absolutely just in love with the wisdom that Brian was sharing. And I was finding so much hope and inspiration in it and being able to take that stuff and start to apply it to my life incrementally. And that led to another step in that journey of becoming a coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a lot of people don't know this, but one of the reasons I have such a depth of mastery around the heroic material is because way back then, like 2008, 2009, I come across Brian's stuff and I decided I was going to do a 100-day challenge on YouTube or on Facebook. And I was going to review one video of Brian's every day for 100 days in a row. And I invited people to join me on
Was
the
it
journey.
that long ago?
Yes.
'Cause I remember that too. Gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had one person take me up on it.
Oh, yeah.
Adam Bray, also from West Valley High School.
Yeah.
And he actually did all 100 with me.
Wow.
And we went and celebrated at the end of that. But it was those that I would watch the video, I'd read the philosopher's note, then I'd write a little little verbiage on it on Facebook, share the link and all of that. And then Adam would participate below. And we did that 100 days in a row. And you just gain a deep sense of mastery of personal development,
Yeah. So you had Brian. This is Brian. Brian showed up in your life in this moment. I mean, isn't it fun to look back at it? I mean, it's so fun to look back at it now. Like you say, we can keep saying when you're in it, it just seems very different. But it was all meant to be.
And then all the wisdom he shares, that's 100 books. That's 100 other mentors and allies, right, on your team.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
Thank goodness you didn't do the work that day.
Oh my gosh, that is so true though. Like, thank you that I was kind of slacking that day.
right?
Yeah.
It
And then you got
all,
inspired in a whole new light.
Yeah.
just like you said, who's to judge your path? It's
Yeah.
your path. And you think you're doing the wrong thing, and actually it's nudging you closer, and that has been,
Yeah.
I eat and breathe that stuff.
There
so
you go.
Well, and we don't grow alone, I mean, there's so much to it, and it can be like you're saying, these books, the knowledge of people, allies, mentors, whatever that might be, and they may just show up in the strangest time. And some people are going to be there forever, and some people are there for a moment in time. And those are just blessings and gifts that we get to celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's that number 3 component, the meaning, the mentors, and the allies, right?
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say something about a mentor at that time too. One of my teachers at the time, I was going back to grad school, and at the time it was kind of like another economic crisis. We had like the real estate market crashing, and so when I was going back to school at Gonzaga, as in the master's program, the undergrads, a lot of them were just staying on, and they were going right into their master's program, and so I'm entering in much older than all of these kids. And I would say they were so far beyond me across like formal education. A lot of them had been brought up in private schools and in younger age, and then they went to college at Gonzaga. Then they were continuing on at Gonzaga, and so I can feel like I was such a fraud. I felt like I didn't belong at all. And I had one teacher stop me and say, "That's why you're here, to learn." And it was like in that moment, like it didn't dawn on me. I was so self-conscious about not being as smart as them or not being able to write like them or speak as well as they could speak. And they were like 10 years younger than me at the time, And so I had a lot of, even at that point, imposter, syndrome coming up, and having people there to continue to support me and give me just the right thing to say at that moment. So a lot of the mentors too, I think, were that just in a moment, just something they said to you. And then those are there for a long time. Like you, Jess, like you've been there for multiple, even before that one, and continue to be there to this day.
Yeah. When was just that moment that you were like, maybe fear was still there. I think that just kind of, there's a wave of fear that comes and goes. But that moment that you were like, okay, there's no going back. I'm doing this. Like, I'm moving forward. I'm committing to this person, my identity of who I am, going through school and, I got this certificate and I was like, that's great. I'm going to move forward.
It's on the
I
wall.
love the optimism. It's super amazing. And then you're like, well, maybe I need a little more, and the steps you took you exactly where it needed to be. The challenges just made you a stronger, more courageous person, and giving back in the midst of all of it too. But when you were like, okay, there's no going back. I'm moving forward. This is what I'm doing. Do you recall, and you might not have that moment, but do you recall like that moment or time period where you were like solid in it? Like, this is what I'm doing. I'm committed. No looking back.
Can I share too?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's interesting is we talk about this. The big arc is like the coaching and what I do for work today, right? There was a moment where I had finished my master's degree at Gonzaga in organizational leadership. I had a background in criminal justice a little bit. And so we were bankrupt. Like I literally did not have an address. I did not have an address, and we were sleeping at a family member's house. And they told us we could stay there 3 months. Well, after 2 months, they told us to leave.
I remember this.
And at the time, I'm looking for work too, right? I still want to be a life coach, but I now have this degree as an organizational leadership specialist. And so I'm looking for work in that area. And so I was going to job interviews and things like that. And there was a moment where I was offered a job at another, what was it? It wasn't a juvenile detention. It was a jail for adults, for women. I can't remember which one it was. And I was offered it. I knew I could do it, but it felt like taking a step backwards. It didn't feel like the path forward for me. But we had all this external stuff going on of people not wanting us to stay at their house anymore. And then so we're in financial problems. And in that moment of decision, I was like, no, it's not right. And 2 weeks later, I landed the job at STCO. Oh. And that moment was like a defining moment where it was like, it didn't matter what everybody else was saying about me, what I should be doing and shouldn't be doing. I didn't let fear make the decision in that moment. Instead, I followed my heart and the path opened up.
Yeah. What a courage that took, right? To say no
Yeah.
into that situation, knowing that, or not even knowing what was in your future, right? But you had hope, and knowing that this is just not, this doesn't feel right, right? That inside, that intuition is telling you, no, just hold on. There's something out there for you.
Yeah.
And having that belief. And then landing STCU, which would be, I mean, what a gig, right? A
Dream job.
Yeah.
Dream job.
Wow.
job.
And
Absolutely.
great, like, first I remember you prepping for that because you had to do a presentation. And you were like solid. I'm like, how did she even come up with this? And it was like all of this like amazing knowledge that you had been learning, your 100 days of wisdom and all this stuff. And I imagine you just totally killed it. And they're like, how could we not live without Lori Mage? And I was just thinking as you were talking, I was like, again, you know, your hero's journey just leading you there, and your heroic decision making of like, I'm not letting fear and, like you said, other people's observations of me decide my future. And that's really empowering. I'm like,
circumstances,
gosh,
right?
I mean, seriously. And you then went to STCU, which amazing dream job, like you said. And then you got to do all this beautiful practice and repetitions and development and just growth in yourself and your facilitation skills. And I mean, you honed in on like all these wonderful things that, again, create like where you're at right now. So I love that. So I just think that's so powerful, you know, again, looking back at it to see everything leading up to that moment. I mean, you reminded me of things that I totally like, oh yeah, that's right. I mean, that was a challenging moment.
Well, that was the moment too in 2020 when the position was eliminated, right? It's like that moment of like, am I going to step back into growth or back into safety or forward into growth? Was I going to go update LinkedIn? There was actually another opportunity. I could have stayed at the organization I was with, and that didn't feel right either. It would have been safe. It would have probably ended up being a trajectory of more money, bigger impact within the organization probably. But my heart has always been on this other thing. Like I've been walking kind of two simultaneously. And in that moment, it was a similar moment. It was like decisive. Like there was no going back. I knew exactly what I was going to do when the options were laid on the table. And it was freaking terrifying. I didn't know how it was going to turn out or shake out or anything. And what's wild is that that whisper's there, right? And sometimes it's a whisper. Sometimes they yell at you. Sometimes it shoves you, right? And there was a moment where my partner and I were having a conversation, and I said, it was COVID time, and I'm like, look, I don't know how, but some way, by the time I'm 50, I want to have all of my student loans paid off, and I want to try this coaching thing again. And that would have been 3-year time frame to pay off my student loans, to be completely debt free and go for it again. And within a couple weeks, my job was eliminated. So it was like, sometimes you get shoved, sometimes it's a whisper. There's just, and it was like, okay, your 3-year runway you were going to have just turned into like, you need a helicopter to lift you out of here real quick. How are you going to do this?
It's like it's great to plan. I mean, that's obviously like amazing to have goals and plan. But at the same time, there's no guarantee. And that comes into the trials and tests, the tribulations that you're experiencing. Like, what trials along your journey did you experience? And I mean, everything you've already said there, you share some trials of you were crippled, like you were identifying as an athlete. That's how I met Lori. Was Lori and the high school girls were practicing soccer at the high school before school started. It was summer still. And me and Raina walk up and we're like, hi. And you guys let us, I don't even know how it happened. I'm sure we were knowing younger girls coming up to freshman year, but you guys let us practice with you. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. And then we ended up that summer after, we became freshmen, we were on the soccer team with you all. And you've always been an athlete. I mean, you're always known to be an athlete. So that had to have been one of your trials. But what are some of the other things along your journey that tested you and gave you trials that you want to share?
Well, Darren knows this one intimately. Well, there's several. I mean, the last 6 years specifically. And thank God for all the tools and the work over the last 2 decades to be able to handle this. But, you know, in the last 5 years, job eliminated, mom dies, brother dies, dad dies, cat dies. On top of that, a good friend of ours, Nicole, who was part of Heroic, she died of cancer during that time frame as well. And it was just like one thing after another where there was some sense of security, some sense of support that was no longer there, right? And so each one of those was, and still it shows up. Like just recently, a whole bunch of the grief showed up and took me into a dark place just in the last 90 days. And all I could do was just... what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? And that's what's cool about the work we get to do is because I had a really important project that was meaningful to other people, and that kept me plugged in. That kept me going. But there was a loss even of will in the last 100 days. Even knowing this stuff cognitively and having stuff surface that's ready to be felt and experienced, it comes from nowhere sometimes, and you do the best you can, and you... hopefully, I think now more than I used to. I isolate less. I reach out more, which is new and different for me, which is an identity type stuff. But I mean, trials, tests, initiations. There's so many we could talk about, but those are just a couple in the last few years. And Darren and I too, we had a falling out in 2020, and that was a huge thing for me. You guys have been massive support for me, and to not have you guys, it was tough. Where's the Kleenex? I told you, right?
That was a challenging time, for sure. It was lost for all of us.
Yeah,
because we wanted to create something really special together, and then we were just done and over.
Yeah, it was tough. Yeah, you know, when all that stuff went down, there was just still a part of me that I felt like we'll come back together later. You know, I didn't know when, but I knew eventually when the timing was right that it would, again, and here we are, right? We're back together.
Do you
just
remember
like
the
family.
moment we came back together for real?
And, in Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we determined that cold plunges saves.
Yeah,
we were in Austin, Texas at our event.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's those moments where there's just some people, you know, that are going to be part of your life forever, but you don't know the moments of life that they will. And I feel like just a strengthening of you guys. Actually, what I love is Lori and I have always known each other and been apart, and you've known the things that I've struggled with. And this has been a really good opportunity for you guys to create a strength and bond together that I feel like wasn't maybe so much being able to be created before. And you guys are both in two different places. Like maybe then it wasn't going to work, but now, like, I think that's what I love about growth and personal development is that we get to choose how we're going to move forward in life. And being where you guys are both now is super exciting as a friend and a spouse to get to be reunited in ways that we know that we're committed to help each other flourish and be the best versions of ourselves. So
that reminds me of something I recently heard that I think mine and Darren's relationship is a perfect demonstration of this. But I was surprised to hear, I hadn't seen them for a long period of time, and they shared with me that the person they broke up with, that they were adamant about breaking up with, they were back together again. And their realization was, Lori, it can be the right person, but the wrong relationship. It can be the right person, but the wrong relationship. And I think that Darren and I have that. I think even in the time you and I were both like, oh, the Stoic gods are playing a good one on us, right? Like, this is my sparring partner. This is who I'm supposed to grow with and go through life with. And I think you've probably felt that. And I know I felt that. And it's like, I know this is bigger than me. Whatever's going on between me and Darren is bigger than me. And I think our relationship is redefined now. I think that it's definitely more mature. I think I'm showing up differently. I think you're showing up differently. And the relationship dynamic had to change. Yeah. It wasn't the person. It was just how we were relating to each other needed to shift and change.
Yeah, and a lot of myself, too. I was very, again, fixed mindset going into this new thing of coaching and learning about self-development, which I wasn't very strong in at that time. I just thought I knew everything already. And again, that fixed mindset. And as I started to develop and that time that we spent away from each other, I worked on more and more of my self-development, started seeing myself as more and more into that growth mindset. And then coming into that area, and that's, again, where we're kind of coming in now, where we're talking about the component number 6 is the abyss, right? The dark nights, the breakdowns, the turning points. And that event was a big turning point for us, knowing that we'd run into each other again through heroic, having that time to spend together and give hugs and love and share and shed some tears, and then growing where we are today. And I think that's the misconception that's out there with a lot of people, because you're a life coach or self-development, whatever that you work on, all those things, those people think they have it all figured out, and we don't. We're just like everybody else, except we are just all in on learning about ourselves. And we're all in on just that ability to check ourselves now and then, knowing that we're going to make those mistakes, and then we get to learn from those mistakes. I think that's the ability of the differences when you're focused on growth, that number one, that you're never going to be perfect, right? We're not going to be, what do we always talk about? Exonerated.
Yeah.
Right? You're never going to be exonerated. And that's, you're going to learn to the day you close your eyes for the last time. And that's how I like to explain death. I don't like to use the word death or die or anything like that. Just when we close our eyes for the last time. And that's where we're going to continue to go on this path and this journey together, knowing no matter what that is. And that's something that I share now with Jessica and I, that when I'm upset, I want to make sure that I still leave with a kiss, in a way that if something was to happen to me on my drive somewhere, that's not the last memory that she has. I was an asshole, right?
Maybe it's a kiss on the cheek, just not the lips that time.
That's right. Yeah, it's the show. I'm still mad.
I'm going to give you a kiss on the cheek.
Yeah, that's what you get.
That's why I think, too, though, that you're so good at what you do, because you're human.
Yeah.
And you've had the human experience. And I mean, I do think people can be amazing at something without having to experience it. They can coach somebody through it, support them through it. But there is a special connection of like all the things that we experience as humans, that we have a whole nother world to pull from, to be curious to. I think you guys were talking about the other day of, going deep with the person and go down to where they're at as a person.
Brene Brown.
Yeah. He shares, like just good thoughts, and just like, go down there, be deep with them, go down. You're there to help them rise in the way that they can rise, and their ability to rise in the timing that they can do it. And it's not just about like telling somebody what to do. And so that human experience is amazing. And like you said, there's no pedestal. Nobody should be on a pedestal. Nobody's perfect. And so making sure that we all can collectively, share that human experience of like, this is where I came from, or this is my experience in life. And that's why maybe I can help you, go through this challenge, but it's human, collectively.
Mm-hmm.
So going into the next concept here, where we talk about revelation and transformation, that this, after confronting the abyss, right, that something shifts. Now you start to realize that you're stronger than you knew, that you can trust yourself, that you don't need permission, that you're going to give yourself permission, and that you're worthy, right? That we start going through this identity transformation. It's almost like the caterpillar to the butterfly, right? That this change is going to happen. So where, would you say you are in your life right now, recognizing some of those things of kind of starting to spread out those wings, and again, the success that you've had this year? You've had one of your most challenging years. And with that being said, you've also had one of your most successful years.
Mm-hmm.
And so really, right, like the phoenix almost. I would say like that. Just the phoenix just popped in my head right now, right?
It's felt like that. It's been a burning. Yeah. As hot as, Yeah, it has felt like that. I was just looking at those 8 there too, in the abyss, and that dark night of the soul too, and wondering if you're really going to make it through, and facing your fears. But the revelations and the transformations, I don't know. I always feel like I'm just always in process, so I don't know how to answer that. I definitely have a higher level of like confidence in not knowing the path, not having to know the steps, and that feels huge this year. That feels huge, and just the last 3 years of really, really listening to that whisper, that intuition, that soul, and saying yes to things that don't logically make sense on paper. But because you said yes to it and entered the unknown, your transformation was exponential. And I did a lot of things in the last 36 months that didn't really make sense, but they challenged me in ways that now, speaking on stage with more confidence, like I said, not having to know steps all the way up through 100 in order to take action. I can literally just know the next step right now and be able to take action without feeling like what it used to feel like is I would know what the next step was, but I would take the action and it felt like I was like on a roller coaster and just holding on for dear life, like white knuckling every single step along the way. But more often than that, there was just a procrastination because I would think through step 8, 9, and 10 and the challenges I might face in those. And then I'd start to solve for those when I haven't even taken the next step.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So a lot of the confidence in the uncertainty and just trusting that it's going to work for me. I'm going to figure it out. And to be messy in front of others and letting that be okay to be messy in front of others.
Yeah, it's like going out and eating ribs with people.
Without napkins.
Without napkins.
Yeah.
You're like, I have to go to the bathroom, thank you. Yeah. Well, and as you're chatting, I'm like, gosh, action creates the next step. Because we can freeze and be debilitated by the what ifs of the future. And it's about, like we learn, like being in the present. Like if we're too far in the past or too far in the future, it doesn't feel good. It creates anxiety and it creates fear. And when I set myself into that space, I'm just realizing, wow, how much anxiety that I do create for myself. And I would just love to know for you, you talked about intuition, and I'm just thinking, and listening to yourself more. How do you create, because we talk about this a lot, but how do you personally create like that space to actually hear your intuition?
Daily, in the moment. I work with a guy named Jacob Sokol. He's my coach. And we do a lot of, find yourself first is a message that I come back to. I hear his voice, find yourself first, find yourself first. When you feel that that fear response show up and your thoughts go rapid and they're like overthinking, your body starts to get hot and flush, find yourself first, find yourself first. Take a breath. That's how you find yourself first. But it's intentional. I reflect every single morning. I reflect every single night. I reflect weekly, monthly, things like that. I truly believe in the power of journaling and the prompts that you ask yourself. There's a way to build a relationship with yourself. Yeah. That if you're not having structured, intentional meetings like that, where you're journaling, you're missing out on an opportunity to really know how awesome you are, and the wisdom that's there that you otherwise wouldn't be able to have access to. But coaching, my coach asked me great questions to help me connect to that. Coaching myself, reading books, and actually stopping when the book has a question to be able to think through that question or that prompt and be willing. This is a hard one to be willing to stick with that one question for a week or two or a month and not feel like you have to keep rushing through the book just to finish it. And then making yourself like, I don't finish books and I suck and all that story that can come in instead of just like, no, trusting like, this is the thing that's landing with me. And what might happen in my life if I just live that question for the next 30 days or 60 days or 90 days. But then that's self-trust too. Yeah. It's like trusting this is my path. This is my pace. And trusting that. Even when everybody else is saying, go, 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 and you're not doing enough and all of that, being able to slow down. But the breath is a huge one, coming back to yourself.
What you're talking about too is just, I think, again, we've been always told this story that you got to get ahead, you got to go, you got to be here, you got to be here, you got to be here, right? And we start thinking about that ourselves and we put that own stress on ourselves. Like, why am I still reading on the same page? I haven't even moved past this chapter. I've been on it for 2 weeks now. And it's thinking that we're not good enough and that self-doubt comes in and we ought to be further than we are. And that's something that we've talked about is just appreciating where you are right now in the moment and not putting the pressure on yourself that you ought to be further. And this just taking that moment again where you're talking about journaling and taking that breath or meditating, to just sit back and just acknowledge how far that you have come and the movement that you have made. And sometimes I think that takes that ability just to be present right now and get used to this new person, this new version of you. I think we're creating so much change that sometimes we're still figuring it out. And we think that we need to, again, be further than we are. So how do we just sit back and be good where we are? And that's where I'm running into right now, is a little stagnation of, like you're talking about steps. I got to be 5 or 6 steps ahead of where I'm at versus let me just focus on the next step. What is that next step? And let me just be there with it. And I'll take my time there, stand there and enjoy it and embrace it and enjoy the view of that next step in the sense, right? I think that's the other part, is that we're moving so fast sometimes that we don't get to stop and be present and enjoy where we are. So that's what I'm learning about myself right now. Is like, let me be ease right now. Let me just chill, and then it'll come to me. But I still write down my goals and so they're still fresh in my mind every day.
And I think that's that in itself is wisdom, of like knowing what season you're in when it's time to slow down. And one of the things of just your identity, especially Darren, what you're moving into is something you've never done before, right? And so there's an identity that wants to emerge, that's calling you forth, and yet your nervous system is basically saying danger, 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 fear, fear, fear. And so sometimes I think that pause is actually the regulation of the nervous system catching up with the growth you've already had. Like some of the things you're leaning into, it's new, but in the last 12 months, what I've seen you do and what you've put yourself in situations that are new and uncertain and challenging yourself to do multiple workshops, I think that your nervous system, your wisdom saying, slow down, let's integrate. We've talked a little bit about this too, of like when you're climbing Mount Everest, right? You don't just go straight to the summit, right? You got to stop at first base camp and acclimatize to that level you're at. And then you go to the next base camp and you spend time there so you can customize yourself to that level that you're at. And I think we need to do that in our own lives too. And we think that there's something wrong with us, that we're not go, 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 go. But I think our nervous system is catching up with that new identity.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what you talk about reading the book. Like, you're not reading the book to finish it.
Mm-mm.
You're reading the book to learn and really absorb the knowledge that's in it. It's not like, okay, how fast can I get this book done? It's like, let me absorb the knowledge in here. And it might take me a little, however long it takes me, and be okay with that.
So it's okay that I started like 100 books and I finished maybe 9 of them.
Yes.
I'm a page flipper of like, what do I need to know right now? And
Intuition.
It's like, I go there and then I'm like, I'm good. then I'll come back to it later, and I've got lots of bookmarks and markings. But like you're saying is, we used to look at the Brian Johnson's Philosopher's Notes, and we'd read them, and we'd listen to them, and we would say, oh, we can't listen to it unless we have a journal and we can write it down and get really deep into it. And then I was like, that's never going to happen. So I had to accept that, okay, when I'm driving the car, I'm going to play it. And I can play it again, and I can play it again, and I can play it again. And then the ones I really want to go deep thought, I can find that journaling. So one thing that, as we're kind of wrapping up to this integration and returning with the gift, and I don't know if you want to go back to like 20, 25 years, or if you want to go back to 10, 15 years, but you're kind of like looking at like that journey back to your own world and the contributions that you're creating for yourself, the meaning for yourself and for others. And what does that look like now, if you can say, because we know we've got many hero journeys. What does that look like as you're integrating all of the wonderful and amazing and scary and the dark areas through this journey?
Like bringing back the boon.
Yeah. Bring back the boom.
Bring back the boom. Yeah, I think especially in the higher arc of the coaching world, especially, like just I've had so many false starts and failures. And also then in corporate, I got to have, hundreds of thousands of coaching conversations with people across 8.5, almost 9 years. But then what's felt like full circle for me is that what I started in 2007, I now have been able to go from 0 to 6 figures and sustain it. And that feels massive, right? That feels like the integration of like, you guys, like I hung with it for 15 years,
Yeah,
you know?
right.
And that's how long it takes to dream sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
Are you willing to stick with it? And there's so many things I've learned through that, just even in the last couple of years of what's worked for me and hasn't worked for me, and which like coaching programs and formats and structures have worked for me and not worked for me. That, you know, a lot of the clients I work with, I kind of have the clients I work with, I have corporate leaders I work with, and then a lot of people in the heroic community that are building coaching practices and doing workshops and things like that. So that's kind of the majority of the people I work with.
And
is that.
outstanding individuals like myself.
Yes. But because of that, the richness of just the trials and the tribulations and the journey, and all of this stuff, if you really, really, really knew me, I had a meditation I did. I saw myself on stage in this meditation. This was like 2006, and I was so terrified at the thought of speaking on stage. And a few years ago, I spoke in front of a group of people and just absolutely crumbled in front of them. And these were people who I looked up to, and I thought a lot about their opinion. And I just broke down in tears on the stage, and I couldn't even keep going. And so to be able to do that now, and to be able to support people who feel like they can't possibly do the thing they are being called to do, I have done that. I've overcome those thoughts of like, one, being too intense. That was always a limiting belief. I was a kid sister, so not being smart enough, not being good enough, like those types of things, of overcoming those things. And the real fear response that takes place in the body, where you just shut down right before you're about ready to do something, like I've had to work through that, and I continue to work through that. And people don't, just like Darren said today too, like people think just because we're coaches, we've got it figured out or something. No, like we're constantly in the process. All of us are. The good ones are.
We're willing to get
Yeah.
messy.
Yeah, we're willing to get messy and in front of other people, and that's
Yeah.
Well, and I said to Darren, I think just in the last couple of days, I said, wow, you guys, you know, like coaches want to be in a profession that you don't just check out at the end of the day. There's no time clock. You're not checking in at 8, getting done at 5, and you get to go, you know, do whatever you want. It is a lifelong development, personal development. You're always learning. And I was like, gift and amazing. And what an amazing choice, because I would always choose that. At the same time as, you know, some people get a check out at 5 p.m. and don't need to go back to it. And so all the time you're actually working, doing the work with clients, you're doing just as much time on your own with development. So you could bring to the table all the expertise and experience. And you're talking about 15 years. Like I hope the audience is really hearing your story and being inspired by it, and just really seeing the contribution of what you have to the world, because it wasn't just, you know, one day you're like, I'm going to do this, and you did it and you were super successful and ta-da, here I am. Like, look at me. It life is hard. And you really were up for the challenge. You're worthy of the contributions. You're worthy of the success and the things that come back to you, because you put so much work into it, and so much hard work, and fighted through the fear and the trials and tribulations. And as we talk about this hero's journey, have this full integration of like, okay, awesome. Now what's next? Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, just kind of following up, last minute thoughts on kind of the integration and what are your next steps, and share with us how our audience can also reach you.
Yeah. I'll share your RISE program and stuff.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I'm not sure where to go actually when you said that. The way you can connect with me is lorimage.com, and there's a space there if you would like to just start to support yourself and your own journey, your own development. There's a place to just sign up to get these questions, these prompts that come out every Thursday. And it's a great way either for beginners or for long-term people, because I personally look forward to the prompts coming out in my email from myself. I like to use them to just, reconnect, and they're very intentional to support you with building your confidence, gaining clarity, taking steps forward, clarifying your values and things like that. It's just 3 questions every Thursday. You can take them over the weekend and think about them as you enter into the next week. You finish off a week. That's one way and one tool you could use that's free and easy to use. What's next for me? what I'm most excited about right now is I've done a lot of work with Dr. Benjamin Hardy too. And he really talks about mastering the past, which I've been getting better at, and mastering the future. And the thing I'm most excited about going into 2026 is mastering the present. Who am I being right now? And that question is really, really supporting me with the growth I'm having around understanding grief, navigating sadness, healing from all the losses I've experienced in such a short period of time. So that's calling me forward and continuing to understand how our nervous system gets in the way when you want something, but your body says no, and how to continue to get better and better at that. I think, what's great about Brian's work is it really connects you with your head and the theory and the philosophy and all of that. But then sometimes the body still gets in the way. So what's that about?
Yeah.
And continuing to focus on who am I being, not just where I'm going or what I'm doing, but who am I being right now?
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's
I love
awesome,
that.
Lori.
Yeah.
So as we close this out, again, the heroic journey is the process of answering the call to become your best self, facing the challenges that shape you, transforming the inside out, and returning to life ready to serve as a higher level of yourself. I want to say thank you, Lori, for being here. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being my coach. And it's a pleasure to have you in our lives. And as we take our lives to the next level with
Good vibes only.
peace. Congratulations. And I want to say thank you for sticking with us and listening to this topic. But I want to leave you for some actionable steps that you can take immediately after listening to this podcast or once you get into your home if you are driving. I want you to think about writing down your answers to these focused questions. What is that one thing that you can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? And then I'd like for you to schedule a time for that primary task that you just wrote down. So those are your actionable steps. Thank you.